what just happened in the workshop with the PUC moments ago?
We were actually excited to have this workshop with the PUCN to share with the community our offer to settle the billing misclassification issue for $63 million payable to customers. A couple important things that came out of that. Those funds will all be paid by the company. We won't be seeking any reimbursement for customers or anything there. That'll be a company paid expense. It was also an opportunity to put this behind us and do what's right for our customers. We're obviously very sorry for the mistake there. We own that. It was a miss there, but excited to move forward in serving our customers and rebuilding that trust and starting that by issuing this refund.
Walk me through the process of how it's going to work for customers.
So what will happen is for customers that are a current customer, they will actually see a credit on their bill. It'll show up there, it'll be flagged, they'll see the reimbursement that comes to them. It's important that they see that and understand that. That'll take place once the commission issues an order that allows us to actually move forward with this settlement. We'll do that. Those customers from 2017 and on who are not current customers will get a check mailed to them, and that'll follow that process where it'll go to their last known address, and if for whatever reason it's not claimed, it'll just follow that process through the state and the escheatment process.
Which means it goes back to unclaimed property.
It goes back to unclaimed property. It will never return to the company once we've issued that check. It's not as if someone doesn't claim it that the company gets to receive that. And I think that's important here in general. The company didn't profit from this mistake. That doesn't change the importance of making it right, but we won't be profiting or receiving any money back from any unclaimed checks either.
63 million is the figure that we're going with for now?
That's correct.
Okay. How are we, and how many customers, remind me?
It's about 45,000 premises, okay. And so that we're impacted there.
Gotcha. How confident is NV Energy that 63 million is the full amount?
So we are very confident that that's the full amount, but that being said, we've engaged a third-party auditor to go through the investigation that us and the regulatory operations staff already went through to identify those customers, to double check it. Not only to double check the amount here, and if any additional customers are identified, they'll be receiving a refund just like those who have already been identified. But equally important is to look at those processes and have a process going forward to evaluate how we're doing this to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I think that's a really important point. This wasn't a line in the sand today that says, hey, if there's a customer we missed, they don't get a refund. We will be double checking that with a third-party auditor to make sure we do capture every customer.
And if folks are getting kind of the amount they overpaid plus interest, is the full amount of refunds going to be greater than 63 million, or explain that for me?
The 63 million contemplates the interest for that as well, so that's already built into the number. So that is obviously much higher than what was actually paid out. The interest drives that higher, but the interest is calculated in that 63 million.
Oh, it is. Okay, so that encompasses the full amount.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes.
Last week, the company contended that it wasn't able to do full refunds dating back to 2002. This week, the NV Energy says that you guys can do that. What changed?
So a slight clarification I would have there. What we were putting forth last week was our legal statements that were required at that time to the docket calendaring. And what the company is offering is actually beyond what is required by law or tariff. And so what you saw last week was an explanation of what the laws and tariffs were and what could be required of us under those laws and tariffs. What you saw today is us trying to step up and offer that refund in the full amount to those current customers and do it that way. So just a little bit of clarification there. This does go beyond what the laws and tariffs require, but this does make whole those customers who did overpay.
I guess what I'm kind of getting at is why not from the get-go jump to full refunds?
We were working through this process with staff and the Bureau of Consumer Protection. I think that's what you heard today. There was a lot of questions. There was a lot of process to go through that, and we had to let that develop. We had to dig into the records. We had to work with them and do that. And so understanding what that full refund was took some time to get there and have that comfort that they were able to do their job, which they did a great job doing, that we opened our books to show them that. And that's just the time it took to get there, to make sure it was accurate, to make sure we had the trust that those agencies, the Public Utilities Commission, regulatory staff, and the Bureau of Consumer Protection had an opportunity to vet that out and do that. So that's what took the time there, was working closely with them to make sure this was accurate and correct.
What steps is the company taking to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
So we've put in place a series of processes to make sure this doesn't happen again around our training, our checks, our balances there internally. We also will be engaging in future audits from a third party to come in and have another set of eyes on those. So we've adopted new policies and procedures learn from this mistake to make sure it doesn't happen again. But again, getting a second set of eyes to come in and audit that, to be a belt and suspenders approach to make sure this doesn't happen again.
And then for people who are out of state, not current customers anymore for whatever reason, will there be like some kind of portal where they can check, you know, to see if they are owed a refund?
100%. We'll be putting very clear information on our website. They can also just reach out to our customer service numbers, but we will be trying to make it as easy as possible for them to log on to nvenergy.com, have instructions and clarifications where they can check to see if they have a check and update that current address or things there to make sure they've received that refund they're entitled to.
Do we know maybe what is like the average refund amount per customer by chance?
I don't have that. A part of that will be as we take a look at those total premises and identify who lived there for a certain amount of time. Some of these had very short tenancy in those places, so I don't have that as we sit here today. It was mainly focused on understanding the amount of premises that were impacted so we could have that calculated appropriately, but I don't have the average per customer as we stand here today.
Okay. Let me just check my notes and make sure we're not missing anything. Let's see, we got the time frame of the 120 days. Where are we? I think that hits everything I wanted to touch. Anything else that you wanted to mention?
I would just highlight again our apologies for this error, right? We owe it to our customers to have accurate billing. I'm disappointed we didn't catch this earlier, but I'm glad that we've identified it now and that we're doing the right thing to issue these full refunds to our customers.